right, am I live? Here we go. Let me know sounds coming in. I look a little laggy on there. Cool. We are live. Welcome to episode 5 of Shoot the Moon. We are ready to rock and roll. Bram's in the house, and he is first. Good to see you in the chat. Let me know if you can hear me. That way I don't have to mess with watching it on my phone there. Today, we are talking about, for the main topic, we are talking about different ways to play Euchre. There are a large variety of ways to play this game. It has spread all over the world, and it is played in different countries, and every different region that it is played in seems to have sort of their own way to play. So we'll be talking about those later in the show. And we got Dewey in the chat. Thanks for joining us, Dewey and his decimals. It's always nice to see you here. I still need to respond to your email. I'm very sorry. It's been busy. I'll get back to you. So today, let's start off with what is going on with the channel and the website. So I've been doing a lot more with Board Game Geek, and I don't know if you are not familiar with that, it is, as far as I know, it is the #1 website for board games. It's really a huge online community, and even though the focus seems to be more on commercial games, it really does have a good amount of people who play classic games as well. And it's a great site to go to learn about other games related to the ones you already like. And aside from all the social aspects, you can join guilds and meet people through them. So like I'm part of a trick-taking guild and a playing card enthusiast guild. So that means I've been grouped with people who like trick-taking card games and people who like traditional card games or classic games with playing cards. And those act as individual communities that you can participate in. They have message boards, and whenever people post, it notifies you. And then as you meet people, you can actually follow them, and anytime they post, it will notify you. So I've started building up some of the people that I follow, and I'm able to kind of track what they're doing, see what games they're playing, or where they're commenting on the site. And it allows you to rate games. You can keep track of your plays, and you can go really super detailed with the games that you play in your collection and all that. And there's a way to sell your games on here, and it really is, I think, the biggest hub for tabletop gaming play. So if you're not on there, I would recommend getting on there just for the sake of joining that community. And if you're interested in following what I'm doing a little closer, then this is the perfect way to do it. You can just add me. I'm on Riffle, Shuffle, and Roll on here. Let me move my face out of the way. You can add me and follow. That way you get updates whenever I post something. And that'll keep you ahead of the curve. I prefer this method over a personal site or a Facebook or a Twitter or anything like that. I used to be on the social media, but I went through a nice purging, and I'm no longer on. I haven't been on Facebook in over a year, and that feels pretty good. I was never a big fan of Twitter, and I did Instagram for a while, but it just becomes a time suck. It just gets so easy to scroll and scroll and scroll. So, as you can see, I've got some notifications here waiting for me. All right. So my 3 lists so far, let me get my face out of the way so you can kind of see what I'm doing. I only have 3 geek lists is what they're called. And it's really easy to get into making a list for everything. If you're one of those people that really likes categorizing things and putting things into boxes, then you might want to stay away from geek lists. You might not want to make any, because it's easy to say, well, that covers these games, but I need a category to cover these games. So right now I've got 3, and I'm pretty happy with that. The most important one, if you want to follow along with what I'm playing, is this: card games I've played and thoughts to go with them for 2021. Now, I only started this, looks like November 26th, so I might go back through and kind of backlog some of the stuff that I can remember that I've played for this year, but this will be the number one place where I post the games I've played and my impressions. And well, yeah, I'll show you those in a little bit when I go through what I've been playing, and you'll see how some of my thoughts are a little more in depth than others. I've got my top trick takers list that I actually went through on the first episode of the show, and then my Anytime Anywhere award-winning games. And Board Game Geek is free. It is free. I think there's additional stuff you can buy. You can get extra flair for your account. You can unlock certain things, but I haven't needed to do that. And they are kind of a community funded thing, so you can see they're actually holding a fundraiser for the year. So this is, I think, BGG's become a pretty sizable organization. They have a staff. I can't remember the number, but there is a staff working on the site. And it's a really important resource for not only players, but companies. This is kind of their way to communicate with potential customers or people who might be interested in their games. As soon as a game is put out there, it gets entry on Board Game Geek, so people can see that it's coming, and they can follow along with the designers and the developers, and they can see developer journals and anything that the company or the designer or the development team wants them to know. So it's a really cool resource. And if there's anybody that hangs out on the Reddit, which is another kind of avenue that I've given up on, but there's a guy that goes by Ender's Game Reviews, and he is kind of like me, where he does not do social media, and he really limits his focus. But he's pretty prolific on Reddit and Board Game Geek when it comes to traditional card games. So Ender's Game Review is another one you might want to sign up for. Or you want to follow, I think his most favorite game of all time is cribbage. Because any chance he wrote a really big long article about it, and I know any chance he gets to kind of give that game props, he will. But he's super nice, and I have found that everybody on there has been pretty friendly, so that's cool. Board Game Geek. Anytime. So with the mentioning of the Anytime Anywhere award-winning games list, what I've been doing is I've been developing kind of a rating system of my own to use for these games. Board Game Geek has a good rating system, but I don't think it describes the games that in the way that I want to. So I just released an It's Turbo Time review and how to play. And that's probably the most in-depth review I've done on a video. Even though that video is 28 minutes, half of it is the teach, and the other half is the review. But that's a reflection of what I want to get into more, and I'll probably end up separating the two into their own formats, so people aren't discouraged by extremely long videos. Because if a viewer just wants to teach, and then they see it's 30 minutes, but then they see another video is 15, they are more likely to go to the 15-minute video, unless they want a review as well. Or if they just want a review and no teach, again, they're going to go for the more succinct video in general. And I want to be able to put my content out in the best format that is most suitable for audiences. So I know there are people who love the really long, in-depth videos, and that's great. But I think it's best for the channel to try to find that line to walk where I can keep the most people happy as possible, and myself as well. So the levels for the reviews is going to be, the game is either not fun, or very fun. And I think I've talked about it before, and you've probably started seeing it coming out. And if you're following my lists here, then you already have seen it. But essentially, the not fun there are games that I just didn't enjoy. I wouldn't recommend them. I'm not going to ask to play them, and I'm not really going to put a lot of effort into showing them off. The BGG translation for that is probably rated 5 and lower. They might be technically good games. They might have some merit in some way, but I didn't find them fun. And then there's the middle rating of fun, which just simply means I did find it fun. I did enjoy it enough to maybe play it again, to maybe suggest it. If someone else asks to play it, I would probably say yes. And then there's a range within there. I mean, I think that's pretty realistic. If you like the game enough to play it if someone else asks, that's different than saying I liked it enough to maybe initiate the play again myself. And then at the highest, there's very fun. And these are the games that I'm going to play anytime I get the chance. If people want to play, I'm going to play. I'm going to ask people to play. It's always going to come out as an option. Yeah, so that's the rating. Now, the newest thing, though, is that Anytime Anywhere Award winning games, the Anytime Anywhere Award. And that's kind of a spin-off of my list I had going there for a little bit. That was my games that are my Anytime Anywhere games. And I wanted to give the games that I play that I think are perfect to be pulled out, no matter the crowd, and no matter the varying experience levels amongst that crowd. I wanted a way to acknowledge games that are good for everyone, that kind of find that balance. So the Anytime Anywhere games will do that. They're going to be rated fun or very fun, and they're going to have excellence in all of the different categories. They're going to have wonderful graphic design, and if there's a theme, the illustration, the artwork, the art direction is going to be enjoyable. If it's more utilitarian, like a colors and number game, then the graphic design is going to be very efficient and easy to understand. And all the different categories of the review kind of get condensed into like a does it reach an even higher level sort of criteria. But the big one is, if I am sitting at a table with one or more people of varying degrees of experience, can I pull this game out and know that I'm going to be able to teach it, that it's going to be able to be understood, and we're going to be able to play it in a suitable amount of time? And will I expect people to enjoy it? That's my take. That's my take on the Anytime Anywhere Award. So you will start seeing that come out in videos, I do believe. Whew. All right, so last week was a huge week for games. So let's go ahead and just dive into the card games I've played and the thoughts to go with them. And we're just going to scroll down to the most recent. Yikes. Yeah, Phase 10. So this is one of those you can buy anywhere off a peg kind of games for $6. And I think I talked about it a little bit last week. I played this like 15 years ago with a large group, and the only thing I really remember is that it took forever. And that hasn't changed. I decided to give it another chance. I downloaded the app, which is frustrating in its own way. And then I actually played it some more with my wife, and she had the same memory. Oh yeah, Faith, yes, because Dewey and his decimals, you bust this out. This and Rummy Cube, you guys play. So here's my thing. I don't want to spend a lot of time on Phase 10. Phase 10, the complete game, is not for me. My wife and I played 5 phases, and it took about 45 minutes. So, with that said, I think, for example, if me and my wife want to play a rummy game of this style, I would play where both of us pick a contract or a phase, and then we play those 2 phases, and the first 2 finish the 2 phases, or the person with the highest score or lowest score wins the game. That way it's snappy. It's like 15-20 minutes, and there's still a little more agency because we pick the phase that we want to complete. Like, we pick the phase that we might enjoy the most, and then we play it and it's done. because 45 minutes for 5 phases was pretty nuts for a 2-player game. So I guess I got to rate it as not fun right now, and I have to keep that because the game as is, for me, it just didn't gel. But with those caveats that I said, shortening it, maybe shorten it to 1 phase per player so every player picks the phase that they would like to see in the game, I think that would be more enjoyable. So, but that's just me. I like rummy games, and you don't see, it seems like trick takers get a little more respect from the card playing crowd, and I can see why. I think they are a little more complex, or they can be. But I like to see rummy games get some love too. The next one. Oh boy, trick taking in black and white. My first Japanese trick taker. Oh, real quick, Dewey says, yeah, phase 10 is an endurance, not a sprint. Absolutely. Marathon, rummy marathon. But yeah, trick taking black and white. My very first Japanese trick taking card game. And it was a winner. Very simple concept. It's a 36 card deck, and each card has 2 colors, black and white. And when you lead the trick, you lead the card as a black card or as a white card. And the ranks are reversed. So the white 1 is also the black 36. And that goes all the way down to the white 36 being the black 1. And then you deal the cards out, and the player leads to the trick. They either lead the card as black or white. It's a must-follow game, and everybody can follow because everybody has both colors on each card. And when you win the trick, you take like a token or a black. You can use anything, but you take a black token, or you just keep the trick and you keep it marked as black. I played with little tokens, and you have to keep a balance between black and white tricks. So at the end of the round, if you have an even number of tricks, so let's say you have 3 black and 3 white tricks, you will score 1 point per trick. So you get 6. However, if it's unbalanced and you have, let's say, 3 white and 2 black, you will lose 1 point per trick. Whew, that's interesting. If you like oh heck, but want a little more flexibility, if you like oh heck or Wizard or Skull King and want a little more flexibility in play, you don't want to be tied down to that bid, this game is awesome. I might be getting in on a group. Well, it's hard to come by. That's the thing. It's a Japanese game and has not been printed to be sold in the States. I was just lucky enough to play with somebody who had a copy. So that is the big downside, and that's something that keeps me from kind of recognizing it as anytime, anywhere game, because it just can't be. It's inaccessible to be played with in real life by most. But man, it is good. It is good, and it definitely sits right there alongside oh heck. That's for sure. Let me get my face out of the way again. So you can see Push. Push is coming up. Played some more Push, and this one actually gets a full review from me. The video for this is coming, and I think that's the one. This is where I'm going to split. So I have just the how to play video and a review video, because it is going to be a longer one. And I guess I just need to give some time and test the waters and see what kind of video format people enjoy the most. But and I see them both out there. The Dice Tower does they tend to do both formats, where they do very quick reviews over the games they don't care for, and then they always do kind of a little teach. But I prefer my teach videos to be a thorough walkthrough of the rules, not just a general synopsis. If there are exceptions, I like to point them out. If there are special incidences within the game that can happen, I want to point them out. So my tutorials always go a little more in depth. But that's what the in a minute video series is for. I want to start giving people just a taste of games, and if they like it, they can find the actual game in my library and watch the more in-depth tutorial. So I think it's going to be wiser for me to separate those two. Sorry for all the pontification here. Was that the right word? Pontification? Push was awesome. Right now, just going through to the end real quick. It's fun. It is fun for me. I'm still stuck at only having played it with 2. And I think 3 is going to be the sweet spot, even though it says it can play 4. I think, 6. You can play up to 6. 3 is going to be the sweet spot, and here's why. Because on a player's turn, they can only build 3 columns. So only 3 players at most are going to have anything to do during that turn. If there are 6 people playing, there are 3 players that are going to check out and become disengaged or have no real investment in what is happening at that time. That can change if a switch card is played, but those are uncommon. And even if it does switch order, it might switch back. So it's just too easy for someone who's uninvolved in that time to just kind of check out, get on their phone, get up and walk away to go get a drink or whatever. And I don't like that. To me, that detracts from the game. So at 2, it is fun. I think at 3, it is going to be perfect. But only time will tell on that. So once I get it played at 3, I will revisit the rating for sure. All right, now, for those of you following along on Board Game Geek, in the Trick Taking Guild, there are 3 games that are finalists for the Golden Trickster Award, which is essentially the guild's way of acknowledging the best trick-taking game for the year. So these next 3 games just came out this year. They are all Japanese trick-taking games that are difficult to purchase and get unless you want to spend a lot on shipping. And I don't know what necessarily defines these as good or what makes them the best, if it's more of the technical side of things, or if people honestly think they are fun, or if they just admire the construction of the game or the development of the game. But the first one was Segment Tricks. Segment Tricks, the hook to it is very interesting. It's a great mechanism. You're given these little tiny pieces, and the cards look like calculator numbers. Here, let me just... And you can use your little segments. You can use your little segments to change the numbers on the cards. So you get little tiny segments that look like the chunks of the number. Oh, I can't scroll up and down right now. That's weird. And you get, well, for the 4-player game, you got 6 of them. But here's the thing. Whatever number of those little segments that you have left over at the end of the round, that's your bid. So you need to have captured in a number of tricks equal to the number of segments you have left over. So you're balancing taking tricks with using up the segment pieces. And that's just not really my cup of tea. So I admire the game. I think the hook is really, really smart. Let's see. You can see the little segments right here. I don't know why I'm pointing at the camera. You can see the little segments right up here. I think that's really cool, but it didn't hook me. So I don't think I will be returning to this one. Then the next one is Cat in the Box. I think I enjoyed this one a little more than Segment Tricks. And it's kind of hard. I don't think there's a good picture to really show you how it plays. But essentially, yeah, this doesn't really help. You are dealt a hand of cards, and all the cards are colorless. And as tricks are built, you decide the color of the card you're playing. But here's the thing. Let's say you lay a 4 and you say this is a 4, a yellow 4. There's another little grid where the yellow 4 is then marked off or covered with a tile. A yellow 4 cannot be played again. And there are, oh shoot, are there 5 4s? So there are 5 numbers per rank, I think. You can say, I don't have any of that suit. Just like you would if you were dealt a hand of cards and you didn't have that color in your hand. You can choose to say, I don't have that color, and play a different color. One of the colors is always trump. But once you do that, you cannot play that color again. You're done with that color for the round. And it's also a bidding game, so you're trying to meet your bid. Points earned are based on the bid. But what can happen is what's called a paradox. And if it's your turn to play a card, and the only cards you have left cannot be played because 4 of that number has already been played, or that number and that color are not available, and that's all you're allowed to play, you've created a paradox, just like the Schrodinger's cat paradox, and you don't get to earn any points. The round ends immediately, and you don't get to earn any points. It was a little too thinky for me to really say, I want to sit down and play with this for fun. This is probably one, I'm leaving this one behind. I think if somebody asked me if I wanted to play, I would consider it. But again, very intelligent design. A really cool hook. And I think the coolest part is the grid that gets marked off with the cards you've played. You also get a scoring bonus for creating kind of like area control. So your tiles cover the numbers, and then any connecting tiles form a scoring bonus. Your biggest grouping of tiles gives you a scoring bonus. I think that's all pretty cool. But so that makes this a very meaty game. It just doesn't fit with my taste or my play group. So, but there's no way anybody can say that this is a poorly designed game or even a bad game. This is by definition, a great game. It's just not fun for me. And finally, Dog Tag Trick. I enjoyed this one the most. And of course, it's the simplest. It is the simplest one. Let me just open it. I want to show you guys this. Hopefully there's some pictures. Yeah, this one's pretty cool. You can see that the artwork's pretty adorable. Everybody likes that. And then I'll switch over to here. So during the round, there are 2 tricks happening. The main stage, the main show, I'll just call it the main stage and the side stage. Okay? Or the main show and the side show. And main shows are each part of the trick is composed. Each player will play 2 cards, and there's different combinations that you can play. A little more like a climbing game. If you're familiar with climbing games and the ability to play more than one card in a trick, to play melds, then this concept is not new to you. The main show is composed of those. The side show is always just 1 card if a person wants to play to that. And there are special ways that the cards can win. In the main show, high card wins in the side show. So there's 2 tricks going on at once, and when it's your turn to play, you can play a card combination to the main show or a single card to the high show. And the highest card combination wins the main show, gets 3 points. Second place gets 2, but only the highest card of the side show wins 1 point. So sometimes you have to pick, do I want to... for example, I know I cannot win the main show. Do I want to try to get the main show point for second place? Or do I want to just slough off knowing that I'm not going to get the sideshow point either? So sometimes you have to balance picking, risking a win and the main show for, picking that, or picking the sure loss on the sideshow, or vice versa. You might play to the sideshow knowing you're going to get it if the main show is in question for you. So I enjoyed this one the most, and it is the simplest. There was you can see the reference card here. Here, I'll scroll up. The reference card here gives you the card combinations for and how which cards beat what. So for the main show, the lower the second card in the meld wins, and it's the higher card that wins. And then there's combination. Oh, like the lowest card can win sometimes. I found the way that the main show tricks are resolved to be a little fiddly. Just because there are 3 potential ways to start the trick off, and you have to look at your hand and analyze it in that way. And then there's also a suit ranking. Now the iconography for the ranking is nice because the highest suit has 4 pieces to it. The third highest has 3 and 2 and then 1. So that part's easy to tell. You can say like my puppy paw ranked 10 beats the bone ranked 10 because the bone is only 1 and the puppy paw has 4 pieces. So that part's nice, but it did take me a while to get a hang of which card beats what in the main show. So that was my only real complaint to it. But I would play this one again in a heartbeat. It didn't resonate with me quite as well as Trick Taking in Black and White, but it's definitely up there for me. So you can probably tell which one I voted for. Then finally, I was also able to get Dr. Seuss's Grinch Grow Your Heart card game ago. Funko Games has really put a lot of time into developing a line of Christmas-themed games. Some are good, like It's Turbo Time. I really enjoyed that. Some are okay. Grinch Grow Your Heart was pretty fun for my wife and I. And then some are not good at all. The National Lamp, well, some were not enjoyed at all by me or my wife. The National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation tile game just fell flat for us. And I haven't done anything for that yet as far as a write-up or a video, but it's coming. But Grow Your Heart, Grinch Grow Your Heart is kind of a rummy game. It's like an asymmetrical rummy game. And I use the term rummy loosely, just like trick taking was a very loose term for It's Turbo Time. But in Grinch, you during the round, one person's the Grinch and everyone else is a Who. And then all the Who's go at once. They all draw and discard. And then the Grinch, he gets to draw, but he not only gets to draw from the draw pile, he can take from any of the Who's discard piles. So that's pretty thematically nice. I mean, that matches the movie. The Grinch gets to steal from any of the Who's. And each Who has their own individual discard pile. At the end of the round, you go through, you draw and discard 3 times. So you'll draw 2, discard 1. Draw 2, discard 1. Draw 2, discard 1. And at the end, you'll have a 5-card hand. And then, like Yahtzee, you will choose how you're going to score that hand for the round. And once you choose that row, that way of scoring, you cannot do it again for the rest of the game. So on the next round, you will have to build a hand that can be scored differently, just like on Yahtzee. When you score a roll, that roll is no longer available. So the number of rounds you played depends on the number of players. And I played it 2, and I liked it. I liked it enough to say I really want to play it again with a higher player count. I think it might be best at 4. I think it'll get better with more players because there will be more Who's each turn or each round. So the Grinch will have a lot more options. And I think it's going to be tricky to stay, I think the Grinch is going to have a really cool advantage each round with more players because there will be 3 discard piles that he can choose from, plus the draw pile. So the Grinch is okay. I talked about the quality of the components in It's Turbo Time. Grinch is probably, the cards are just as good. But there's the kind of like toy-like component that they add for this one is really just a way to keep track of which round or what part of the round it is. And it really doesn't have any effect on the game. It's like a little Grinch with these little heart pieces, and then every time someone draws and discards, you add another heart, and that heart has a number on it to remind you of how many cards you should have in your hand. So it's really unnecessary, and that part kind of stinks because this game is priced the same as Turbo Time, and with Turbo Time you get a 36 card deck, 16 toy tiles, and a Turbo Man miniature, and that's the same price as the Grinch, where you just get a little deck of cards and a score pad. And then the little cardboard Grinch notification component that tells you which part of the round you're on. So it's interesting. It's interesting how all these games at the same price point kind of are different with component quality and what's included in the box. And they're a mixed bag of quality too, which is really interesting. So that was my games from last week. I had quite a bit going on. All right. With that, check the chat real quick. We got BSN talking about Bahama Taxi. It is on Board Game Arena, and it's an alpha. So you can go to BSN's channel and reach out to him if you want to join the alpha group on there and give that game a go. It's really building up in. BSN has worked really hard to build the audience for that game, so I think it deserves. If you're interested in pick up and deliver games that use a classic deck of cards and a printable board and any tokens you have around the house, you might want to check it out. Our main topic for the night: Euchre and ways to play. So, Turnip Euchre is by far the most popular version to play. 24 card deck. If you look for a way to play online, you're going to find Turnip Euchre apps. Trickster, you've watched me play on Trickster. You've watched me play, as a lot of people online have made sure to let me know that I am terrible at the game. And that's fine. That's fine. I could care less. I play to have fun. And I want to give a shout out to Bram. Bram got second place in a Euchre tournament this past weekend. And the format for that tournament was really interesting. It wasn't a set of partners playing through the whole tournament together. It was you played individually, and you were set with a partner at a table. If your team won, both of those partners moved to the next table and the losers stayed, but then the losers shifted seats, so they were not on the same team again. So you scored the points that your team won, but as an individual, your points accumulated from game to game. I think that's really cool, and I think that's a good format. I hosted a Euchre tournament so many years ago, and I made it a team entry, and the team stuck together. Yeah, turn up Euchre. But that format wasn't quite as fun. Willie Barkley says, thanks for putting me on to Trickster. Really enjoying it. Awesome. Yeah, Trickster is awesome. There's a lot more There's a lot more games. There are a lot of different games on VIP games, which let me mention tomorrow real quick. I am playing on VIP games again live. I am playing Scopa. I'll talk more about that at the end. So yeah, Euchre, turn up. I guess I always say turnip, but turn up is the most classic way to play. 4 players, partnerships. There's a kitty. You turn up the top card to determine the trump suit. You can bid on that. If everyone passes, then players get to pick trump. So, but there are a lot of different ways to play, and I've tried highlighting some of them on the channel, but there are even more that I haven't gotten to yet. Honestly, even though I don't think Euchre is as popular as it was when I was in high school. Because when I was in high school, everybody knew how to play, if not played regularly. We played, I remember one year, my senior year, we had a football, like a taco night, and we had a huge euchre tournament, the entire football team. At track meets, on the bus, and at the meets when we were done with our events or waiting on our events, we played euchre. And I don't see anybody. I mean, I was a teacher for 10 years, and I never once heard anybody playing euchre. So it's like, we did that in high school. I went off to college. When I came back as a sub, it's like it just disappeared. So I'm thinking it might have even just been my particular age group that it kind of died off with. But so Dewey asks, what is the Canadian loner rule in euchre? And if I'm not mistaken, I'm sure Bram or Sean will speak up for me before you hear this. If your partner is the one that has the turn-up card, if you order up trump, if you order your partner to pick up the card, you have to go alone. So typically, I could tell my partner to pick up the card and we still play as a team. But in the Canadian rules, if I tell my partner to pick it up, I am going alone. And I think the reasoning behind that is if you have a good enough hand to tell your partner to pick it up, then I think reasonably you should have a good enough hand to get 3 tricks on your own. So that kind of puts the pressure on you to do so. And Sean replied, partner ordering up, dealer has to play alone. Yeah. Yep. So that's a pretty, I think that's kind of a cutthroat rule. I like it. But I think I would rather not play with it. I don't need that kind of pressure. So the first variation can be seen in my video on how to play Euchre, or just Euchre, which is how it's played in New Zealand, I think specifically by Maori. And I know I was watching the show from the Maori television network, and I was kind of researching. I had a lot of help from people in a traditional card game Discord about how that game was played. And I found I was given official tournament rules. But they play with a 32 card deck. And I think that is a lot of fun. It does open up the range for trick play and make it a little harder to know what to play. But if you know me, then you know that I kind of like games to lean a little more towards chaos. So playing with that 32 card deck, I think makes it a lot more fun. And if you really want to tip the scales and go towards luck and chaos, you can throw the Joker in too. The Joker being the highest bower at all times. I got to point this out. Willie Barkley says he played Euchre with the family a couple weeks ago and they loved it. That's awesome. That's awesome. And that in the East, in East Tennessee, Gin Rummy and Rook has been king for a long time. Oh, yeah. Now, see, personally, I want to play more Rook, but I don't have anybody that really wants to play it or is familiar with it. I think it benefits at 4 players. It benefits to have 4 players from that. You can play 3-player, but I think it's a game that shines at 4. And my group is consistently only 3 people, so we've been focusing on those. And Gin Rummy is a winner for sure. Now, so the Canadian loner rule has been addressed. Another couple rules that you can add to the basic game, even with just 24 cards, or with just 24 cards, is going under, which is when a player's hand, I can't remember the composition of the hand now. If a player's hand is basically so bad, if it's only like 9s and 10s or something like that, then they have the option to pick up and exchange their hand with the kitty. And I've noticed on Trickster that a lot of people play with that rule on, but I didn't really like it. And what I played growing up that was similar was called Ace No Face. So if you were dealt a hand with nothing but numbers and one ace, you could call a misdeal. We did do that sometimes. And then the other option for that is no trump. These are kind of the main ones. I think there's other little nuances you can change, but the other option is to add a no trump bid, where if the turn up card is turned down, you can call no trump, meaning that aces are high. Yeah, the bowers don't move in the no trump, so then it's just aces high. And I think that gives players a little more wiggle room with a crappy hand, and I don't think I really care for that one too much either. So there was another way we played called high-low, which, how did that work? Oh, I think that was just ace no face. I think we called it going high-low. Yeah, farmer's hand. Thanks, Dewey. Yeah, Dewey says 9s and 10s a farmer's hand. Yep. I think that the farmer's hand and so your farmer's hand misdeal is like my ace no face misdeal that we played. And then with that going under rule, you could actually play, if you have a farmer's hand, you can swap with the kitty. I'm pretty sure that's how it goes. At least now you know there is a rule called going under, and if you want to check me on that, please go right ahead. Okay, now different ways to play. You can also change the player count. You can go 6-handed, and there you're going to automatically go to a 32 card deck. I've been playing some 6-handed, and I really like that because, especially on Trickster, because my group, who's only 3, we can each play, and each of us have a bot as a partner. So that's a good way for us to play. And then when one of my cousins wants to play, and we want to shake it up, we can play on a team against 4 other bots. So you can do and the way that works, you can do it 2 different ways. You can go 2 versus 2 versus 2, where basically it's the team that sets trump is playing against 4 other people. Or you can play 3 versus 3, where you have a team of 3 and you sit alternating. I liked the 2v2v2 the best. We played that with a Joker. It was pretty crazy. And you could play 5-handed Euchre as well. That I believe you're going to have the larger deck with a kitty that way. And then there's another set of rules. It's 6-hand Almonte, which is Canadian, if I'm not mistaken. But it uses a 32 card deck, 7 through ace, and 3 jokers. And the jokers are called bennies. So you have like the little benny, the middle benny, and the big ben. And you can use 3 different colored jokers for that, like blue, red, black, or you can use 2, 3, and 4 of spades, I guess is traditionally used. And the 2 is the little benny, and the 4 is the big ben. So those sit above the jacks. So with that particular game, you would have a trump rank structure of 7, 8, 9, 10, queen, king, ace, jack, jack, joker, joker, joker. And that sounds kind of fun. Sean says Almont. And he is correct. And it's not Euchre, it's Euchre. Now keep that 6-hand Almont. But it's Monte Carlo. Keep that 6-hand Almont set up here in mind, because we're going to come back to that. Now, my preferred way of playing, or at least what it was, is called bid Euchre. And I just want to touch on that real quick. I've got videos for bid Euchre and some different variants. And it's a 4-player partnership game as well, but you play with all 24 cards. Each player gets 6 cards to their hand, and then you bid on the number of tricks you think you can take. Minimum bid 3, maximum bid 6. If you bid, you're gonna take them all. You can do so with your partner's best and play alone, or you can just go totally alone without your partner's best. And that scores differently. Player with the highest bid sets trump suit. I think that is a great way to play. I think it was at once more traditionally called auction euchre. So you might find more rules for it. But this game, I have found some ways to play it online, and they are all just terrible. And you have to have other people. So I'm still waiting on a nice app like Trickster to... Sean says he lives near Almont. It is nothing like Monte Carlo. Right. I know. I'm just messing. Almont. So bid euchre, I prefer. You can play it. I have played 3-player bid, dealing 8 cards to each player with a 4-trick minimum, and the jury's still out on how good that actually was, but it was interesting for sure. And you can also play Ghost Hand, where you bid 4 hand. You have 3 players. You still bid a 4th hand, and then players bid the same, like 3, 4, 5, or 6 tricks. And if a player wants, before they bid, they may exchange their hand with the Ghost Hand, and that can only happen once. And once you do, you make your bid or pass. So Ghost Hand's pretty cool. I think it's also called, referred to as the King's Hand. So those are all like your traditional basic ways to play with some variations. There are a couple newer ways to play. The first one I want to talk about now, Sean. Let's see if I can get this right. Took. There is a little 2-player card game called Took. Dang it! I probably messed it up. Gosh darn it. Took. And that's a hat. That's a Canadian hat. But this is based on the Almont deck structure. And the version that I wrote about on GameRules.com was influenced by Sean, Mr. Sean Ross himself. He did adapt. These are traditional. This is a traditional game, but he kind of tweaked the scoring, if I remember correctly. But it's that same setup. It uses a 39 card deck, 6 low through ace, and then the Bowers, and then the 3 jokers. Took. The second one, yeah. Oh, man. So this uses straw men. So you're going to have a row of 5 cards in front of you, 5 face down with 1 of each on top. And there is a kitty with a turn up card. And the bidding on that is the same as turn up euchre. You pass or pick it up. If both of you pass, then the next player gets to pick the trump suit. And yeah, it's pretty cool. BSN says I got to make a video on that. He's absolutely right. I do need to make a video on this. I probably need to just really dive into all these euchre variations, but honestly, they're just not very popular. So I feel like I feel compelled to do videos that I know people are searching for, but balance that out with games that I also really enjoy. So Took is going to get some love for sure. But this, you can find the rules on GameRules.com. Not sure. And I think that's the only place online they're available at this point in time. The last one I want to share is, hey, Mika's in. Mika's in the house. All right. Hey, Mika. Is a game called Bird Dog. And this is related to euchre really in spirit. So this is 2017. I came across this here in the past year, and it is a 3-player game. It's kind of these people were in the same position as me in my little card group. there was 3 of them, and they liked Euchre, but they couldn't really play it. So they developed a game combining elements of all the games that they really liked. So Bird Dog takes a little bit of Euchre and a little bit of Spades and mixes it together. It's a 3-player game, 24 cards. The jacks do not move. There are no bowers. But what this game does is pretty interesting. The kitty, rather than with the kitty, if everyone passes, the card is not turned over. Instead, the next card of the kitty is exposed. And then players bid on that. If the last card of the kitty is exposed, then that is mandatory trump. No one can pass on that. So there is some flexibility for the bid, but players never get to straight up choose a suit that they want. I think that's kind of cool. Now, there are no bowers, but there is the Bird Dog. And the Bird Dog is the card of the same rank and color as the turn-up card. So if the turn-up card is a 10 of diamonds, then the 10 of hearts becomes the Bird Dog for the hand. And it is the highest ranking card, but it still counts as its suit. So if hearts are lead and the Bird Dog is the only heart you have, then you have to play it. But it will win the trick. So it's the highest trump card for the round. And that's it. There's a few more little bits and pieces with the rules. You can, instead of passing or picking up on the bid card, or I'm sorry, after the trump suit has been established, you can go nil and say that you're not going to capture any tricks, and there is a bonus for that. And then you are scored based on the face card pairs that you capture. So if you capture 2 kings, that is 1 point. If you capture 3 kings, it's still only worth 1 point. So the focus of the trick play is on capturing pairs of face cards. 2 kings, 2 queens, 2 jacks. All the other cards don't matter for points. And then, of course, if you went with a nil bid and you successfully capture 0 tricks, you earn 3 points for the round. Pretty interesting little game, and that is on the channel. I think, well, and the creators of the game also has a video, and I couldn't find an email address for them when I made this, but I did leave comments on their video. So if you find their original video, you'll probably see my comment talking to them about making it for the channel. So, but I think this is worth playing. If you like turnip euchre and you're stuck with 3 people, then you might want to give Bird Dog a try. All right, let's go back to the comments here. Oh man, people are coming in late. Mika said hi. BSN says you're the Euchre man in Ohio, the Euchre state. Yeah. It's just, I feel more like a cheerleader sometimes than an actual player on the field because I'm just not very good. And I've moved on in the sense, like, I don't really want to study the game. I just want to play and enjoy. Vaselko is here. Check out Vaselko's channel too for different sorts of games. He does a lot of homebrew kind of stuff. Jamie Ricing says, would love some Euchre variant videos, especially 2-player. Really going to look into Took. Thank you. Awesome. Okay. Well, I guess I need to bump those up on the priority list here. And then BSN said, I knew that sounded familiar. So, all right, guys. Well, that is the end of the main topic. I will be on again tomorrow night at 10 p.m. live to play Scopa. And this is my, well, I've played Basra with my wife, but I am excited for to play Scopa tomorrow online. I've been practicing, and before I dive into playing live, I'll do just a quick run through of the rules in case you're not familiar with it at all. There's some really good videos online. I haven't done one yet for it, and I still need to do Klaverjossen. So I got embarrassed last week with Klaverjossen, and I'm not letting that happen again this week with Scopa. Good night, Dewey. Yeah, have a good night, Dewey. Thanks for watching. Willie, thanks for watching. So Scopa Live, I've been practicing. I got my first victory against the bots here today. I'm going to be able to talk a little bit about Scopa. Hashtag Broomers. And and just kind of show you what I can do. A video for that is coming. And same with Glaberjossen. I just want to internalize these games a little more before I try to make a video out of them. The videos always come out a lot smoother if I have had the chance to play the game more. Basra was fun. This is a little different because mostly because of the scoring. It's the same idea where you're just trying to capture cards using cards from your hand. I can't remember how big the Basra hand sizes were, but Scopa's 3 cards, so you can either take a card that matches or take multiple cards that add up. And a Scopa is when you sweep the whole floor of cards, which is just, I think that's just called a Basra in Basra. There's no Joker, but all the cards have a secondary value, and there's a few ways to earn points at the end of the game. And then the cards are, one of those points that you can earn is based on the Primera value or the prime value of the card. You compare cards, there's a whole thing, but the computer does it for me on VIP games, so it's going to be a real quick game to play. So far, I'm loving Scopa. Now, it uses Italian suited cards, so that's different, but the game can very easily and probably more efficiently be played with just an ace up through 10 of the deck. It's not the traditional way to play, but I like it more. So, but we're going to see Italian suits tomorrow, cards without numbers. It's going to be crazy, and that's tomorrow night. Lots more videos to come. Lots and lots more videos to come. I'm well on my way to 200 for the year. Well on my way to 3,000 subs for the year by December. And, oh boy, it's going to be quite the week. So, more for those of you who are here for the classic games, more are coming. I am just getting these commercial games out of the way. We're leading up to Christmas time, and I want to get these things covered so people, although we're getting a little late in the season for buying, I still want to get these things out there so people can see them before they buy them. And I bought a brand new deck of cards by Bicycle for these next videos coming up, and I'm excited to show this thing off. It's the Bicycle Odyssey deck, if anybody wants to look into it themselves. I picked up 3. This is the first deck I've ever bought multiple copies at once for. I love it that much. Okay, that's it. I'm done. All right, guys. Thank you for watching, for chatting, for participating. This has been a lot of fun, and if you're on board for watching tomorrow night, I'll see you then. If not, maybe I'll catch you next week. Until then, I hope to see you on Board Game Geek. Shoot me a message on there, or give me a follow. Let me know that you've jumped on, or that you're, and I can kind of help you find the guilds, and yeah, we can hook up on Board Game Geek. You guys all take care, be safe, and until next time, keep on playing.